Alright guys, so in this part of the video series we're going to show you how to tune the amplifier specifically to your Toyota Tundra. This video series is specifically for the 2014 and up Toyota Tundra that is not equipped with a JBL. If you've got a 2007 or 2013, that's another video series. If your Tundra is equipped with JBL, that's a different video series, so I just want to clarify. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over a checklist of things we need to do before we start the tuning process. First off, we want to make sure that our front and rear output to our speakers is disconnected. Here you can see the black cable, or the black connector here with a white and gray, that's my front. The purple and the green wires there with the black connector, that's the rear. So we want to make sure these are not connected to the amplifier at this time. Also, we want to make sure that here we've got the positive and the negative. This is the wire running to my subwoofer box. So right now we've got nothing connected. We also want to ensure that the front dash speakers are disconnected on this non-JBL vehicle. So at this point, nothing should be connected that's going to produce any sound during this tuning process. Alright, so the next thing we're going to need to do is let's go over the list of items we're going to need. One, you need to get a digital multimeter. You can pick one up at Harbor Freight, Walmart. You don't have to get a high-end unit like this one. They're between $15 and $20. You want to make sure that you set it to the V with the squiggly line, which basically indicates our alternating current. We flip it here, and that's what we're going to use to measure the output on both of these amplifiers. Okay, also, if you purchase this CD, they're pre-labeled for you, or you can download it for free from the website. I just want to clarify, be sure that if you download it for free from the website that you burn them in the proper order and you pay attention to which test tone we're using during the tuning process. We're only using 3, so it's pretty easy to figure out which one's which. Anyhow, I just want to clarify, that's one of the biggest problems. When people download this for free, they generally burn them out of order and then they have problems tuning the amps. Alright, so a couple other things you're going to need. One is this pigtail that's included with your 4-channel amp. Now, I think you can see that here, but I capped off the right side. There's a right positive, and over here is a right negative. I went ahead and capped these off so they don't make contact with each other during the tuning. Over here, I've got my left positive, left negative. I'm going to use this side for the tuning process for both the front and the rear. In my case, I'm going to use the alligator clip and simply connect my positive here to my positive. You'll probably be using a probe that looks something like this. This is what comes standard with most of the multimeters. Alright, the last thing you're going to need for the tuning process is a small screwdriver like this one. I like to use one with the smooth sides. It makes it easier to tune during the tuning process. Alright guys, so in this part of the video I'm going to show you guys how to prepare the amplifiers for the tuning process. First off, here I've got my 4-channel amplifier. Over here I've got the 1000 watt amplifier. And starting left to right, this is my sensitivity knob. I'm going to make sure this is all the way down and to the left. I'm going to make sure that my high pass filter, low pass filter is actually set to full, so it's going to be dead in the middle. Then my frequency knob is going to be all the way down to the left. So all these knobs are going to be all the way down and to the left. All the way down to the left, and then make sure that this one is set in the middle. Here you can see the switch. Make sure it's switched over to 4-channel. Alright, so the next step is, or the next amplifier is going to be our TXD10001 subwoofer amp. We want to make sure that in this case we've already got it plugged in here, you can see, but we're going to make sure we've got our subwoofer knob control cable, and then we want to make sure that the knob is turned all the way to the maximum position. So during the tuning process, you need to be sure the knob is plugged in and turned all the way up. Okay, now on this one we have the low pass filter. This one we're going to turn all the way up and to the right. The boost is all the way down and to the left. Subsonic all the way down to the left. Sensitivity all the way down and to the left. Alright, so in this next part of the video, you're going to turn your truck on. Make sure it's running so your alternator is providing the proper amount, or the max power. I'm going to take my test tone CD, pop it in, and the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I turn the volume all the way down. Alright, now I'm going to slowly turn it up and ensure I hear nothing at this point. If I hear any humming, beeping, anything, you need to make sure you've got everything disconnected. The dash tweeter should be disconnected, as we stated earlier. And again, the amplifier should not be connected. So here we've got different test tones. The first one is our 1 kilohertz test tone. and it says TXD3204, so it lets us know it's for the 4-channel amp. My next tone is 80 hertz. We're going to use that for both amps. The 50 hertz is for the 600 watt and the 1000 watt amp. And then we've also got the recurve tones if you're going to be using if you're going to be setting up a recurve with your setup. In this particular install, we're running without a recurve, without our sound processor. Okay, so next step, make sure you push sound. Make sure that all these are set perfectly down the middle. Treble, mid, and bass are flat. Front and rear are dead in the center. Then I'm going to push repeat so the same track plays over. We want to be on the 1 kilohertz test tone for the first part of the tuning process. We're going to set the sensitivity knob. That's the max power that we can get out of the amplifier. The next step is we're going to turn the volume up to 50. And we're going to leave this at 50 during the entire tuning process. Do not touch the volume knob until you're completely done. These test tones will put a lot of stress on your amplifiers, so you don't want to let them run too long. You want to do the testing and get it done kind of quickly. So what I'm going to do until I know I'm 100% ready to start, I'm going to turn the volume back down, and then when I'm ready to start tuning and everything's in place, I'll come back over here, turn it back up to 50, and then quickly go through the steps. So I recommend you watch the video, understand what you're doing, and then come back through and start the tuning process. Alright, so in this step I'm going to take my pigtail here and I'm going to plug it into the front. Here you can see front. I'm going to plug it in over here on this amplifier. I just want to show you what it looks like here. Alright, so here you can see I've connected the pigtail to the front output on my 4-channel amp. I'm going to take my positive, connect it to the left positive here. Then I'm going to take the negative and connect it to the left negative here. Alright guys, so now we're ready to start the tuning process. I went ahead and turned the volume back up to 50 on the head unit. I've got the 1 kilohertz test tone playing, and I've got it on repeat. Alright, now a couple quick things. Here you can see I've got the positive negative connected like I showed you earlier, and I've already got 4.59 volts coming out of the front output. Now for you audio guys, I want to go ahead and grab this oscilloscope so you can see what's going on. You don't need one of these, but I like to show the audio guys what's going on. Alright, so in this next step, I'm going to take this knob here and we're going to start turning this up and to the right until I get to my target voltage here, and we're trying to get to 17.5. Alright, for the purpose of the video, I got as close as I could. Here you can see I've got 17.49 volts coming out of the front channel. Here, I think you can see that pretty clearly. In the oscilloscope, I've got a really nice, clean sine wave going through. Now, let me show you something. And this is really important for you guys. Alright, if I start going above 17.5, look what starts happening. I start getting what's called clipping. This is going to send distortion into my speakers. And you don't want that. You want to make sure we've got a good, clean sine wave. And at 17.5, without the sound processor, you're going to get a nice, clean signal. So again, our target voltage is 17.5. Alright, so again, at 17.5, I've got a nice clean signal. I'm just barely starting to get a little bit of clipping. And so right now we're set perfectly. Let me go ahead and on the next step, we're going to set the crossover. And the crossover is responsible for telling the amplifier which signals to deliver to the speakers. Alright, so in this next step, I'm going to switch my test tone to the 80 hertz test tone. In this case, it's my track number 2. And you're going to notice the the multimeter is going to jump. We're at 28.89. I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to go to Google, how to tune TXD3204. And we should pop up at the top there. You can see the list. Click the link, it takes you to our website, and then scroll up to the high pass calculator filter. Right here we're going to put in that number, which is 28.9, and it gives me a target voltage of 20.43. Alright, so in my next step here, I need to make sure I take this knob here, flip it to the high pass filter setting. It says HPF, which is towards the middle of the amp. Then I'm going to take my frequency knob and I'm going to start turning this up and to the right until this says 20.43 volts. Alright, when you flip this switch on, you may notice the numbers jump. And again, this is going to vary by vehicle, so don't expect your numbers to actually match exactly. They're going to vary just a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to start turning the knob up. All right, so here you can see I got really close to 20.43. You're not going to get it precise, just get it as close as you possibly can. All right, so we're going to perform the exact same steps for the rear speakers. Over here, we're going to take our plug here, we're moving it to the rear output. I'm at 6.6 volts, and I want to remind you, don't forget to switch back to the 1 kilohertz test tone for this part of the tuning process. All right, so in this next step, we're going to take this sensitivity knob here, we're going to start turning it up and to the right until we get to 16.5 volts. All right, so here you can see we hit 16.5 volts. So we've completed setting the gain. Now we're going to set the crossover. So I'm going to switch the test tone back over to the 80 hertz test tone. So now we're on track 2 listening to the 80 hertz test tone, and you see it jumped up to 17.28. Using the same exact calculator, we're going to put in our target voltage. We're going to put in 17.28, 17.28, and that gives me a target voltage of 12.21. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take the high pass filter and we're going to turn it on by flipping the switch, sliding the switch to the left towards the middle of the amplifier. It says HPF. Then we'll start turning this knob upward and to the right until we hit our target voltage. All right, so here you can see we hit 12.2. The gain or the sensitivity is set, so that's the max power we're going to get out of the amplifier. And then the crossover is set. So we've told the amplifier only deliver the proper frequency to the front speakers. All right, so in the next step, let me take you through setting up the subwoofer amplifier. All right, so now that we've completed tuning this amplifier, I'm going to go ahead and remove this plug just to make sure I don't have a mishap, because if these two wires touch together, I could potentially pop a fuse, and obviously I don't want that to happen. Alright guys, so in this next part of the video, we're going to tune the TXD100. I've already got the 50 hertz test tone playing. Connected my negative, now I'm going to connect my positive. And immediately you can see the amplifier jumps to 14.6. Make sure you don't let these touch together. The amplifier is going to go into like a protection mode, and then your voltage will die. You'll have to turn the truck on and off. Now also, if you let them touch for too long, there's a chance you can pop a fuse. So just be really careful, don't let them touch. For our audio guys, I went and hooked up the oscilloscope. Again, I connected the positive, negative, and here you can see I've got 14.6 volts. All right, so our next step is I'm going to take my sensitivity knob here. I'm going to start turning it up and to the right until we get to a target voltage here of 47.5. And again, I think I said this, but we're playing the 50 hertz test tone right now. Remember that your subwoofer knob and cable should be plugged in, and you've got it set to the max setting right now. Alright, so the purpose of the video, I'm just getting as close as I can. You can get it perfect if you'd like. I've got 47.53 volts. Here I've still got, I think you can see that, a really nice, I'm just barely starting to clip at 47.5 volts. Alright, so we're going to set the low pass filter next on the subwoofer amplifier. So I'm going to switch the test tone on the head unit to, in this case, track number 2. Alright, so I switched to the 80 hertz test tone. My voltmeter's now at 24.22. Alright, and on the same page, if you scroll up a little bit, there's a setting the low pass filter. This is set for our amplifiers. We've got an 18 dB roll off. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 24.26, and that's going to give me a target voltage of 14.00. Alright, so my next step is I'm going to take this knob here, which is the low pass filter, and I'm going to start turning it down and to the left until I get to my target voltage. Alright, for the purpose of the video, you're pretty close. You can get it right on the money. I'm just trying to kind of get through here quickly. Alright, so a couple little tuning tips here. The boost knob. Alright, you need to be really careful with this knob. If you need a little bit more bump out of the system, a little more low end, you can take the boost, turn it up just a hair to 9 o'clock. So right around here to 9 o'clock is your max. If you go much further than that, you're going to introduce distortion and you're going to end up blowing up your subwoofer. So you don't want to do that. Alright, now subsonic. This filter is generally used if you've got a sealed subwoofer box. You're going to leave this all the way down and to the left. Now most of if you're using one of our Taco Tunes ported boxes, most of ours are tuned to about 35 hertz. The general rule of thumb is that you set your subsonic filter about 15 hertz less tuning on the box. So in this case, we want to get to 20 hertz. So here, I don't have an exact knob, or we don't have an exact knob, but if you go to about 7 o'clock, that's going to give you right at 20 hertz, and that should be perfect for the boxes if you're using our subwoofer boxes. And that's it. That's all the tuning that's involved in the subwoofer setup. All right, so this video is for you guys using the 600 watt amp. All right, first off, there's a couple little differences, nothing major. The sensitivity knob is over here on the left. So on this amplifier, our target voltage while playing the 50 hertz test tone is going to be 34.5 volts. So I'm going to turn this up till my multimeter says 34.5. We're done setting the gain or the sensitivity. Now you're going to switch to the 80 hertz test tone. This is going to present you a number. You're going to put it into the low pass filter on that same web page I showed you earlier. It's going to give you a target voltage. Simply take the target voltage and start turning this knob down and to the left until you hit your target voltage, and that's it. The tuning process is exactly the same. The only difference is this amp produces more power than this one, so the numbers are just a little different. All right, that's it. You've completed the tuning process.